Gabe, welcome. We're back. It's been literally a year and a handful of months.
So good to be doing it again.
A lot has changed, man. And this is the Salem Business Journal's first technical podcast. So thank you for being our guest, man. And we're in an old, cold commercial building.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you're into that.
We need some SPJ blankets in here.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah, or some heaters
Beanies.
Or some insulation.
Give me a beanie.
But man, it's a pretty cool setting. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here.
And let's give a couple shout outs. We want to shout out SMI, obviously, for sponsoring and being a part of the Salem Business Journal.
Honored to do it.
In Collier Law. And thank you, Chris Blackburn, for letting us use this space. We're so excited about it.
He just popped in here to make fun of us.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, he said in case you get stage fright or something. And I was like, we don't. No, not us. But anyways, Gabe, why don't you introduce yourself again and what you do, short little snippet, and what you're excited about right now in your life.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm Gabe Johansen. I've been in Salem since 1989. I own a company called SMI. We call it now the SMI family of companies. So there's a few different divisions. We do real estate brokerage, property management. We have a syndication arm. We do lending. What else do we do? We do a few things. Yeah, all real estate related though. We've been around since 1976. Of course, I wasn't there then. I was just born in 1975, so I would have only been 1 year old when that happened. But I came into the company in 2011 and just gradually worked my way up and ended up owning and expanding those companies, became an investor during that time, and now we have a podcast called Deal Junkies. I'm really passionate about trying to help people buy buildings and own real estate. I think it's a really important part of people's life or to have, financial freedom, time freedom. Real estate's a very powerful tool. So our brokerage model and our mission statement behind everything we do is really to help everybody own more real estate, including, brokers and staff and our clients and ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of agents and people in the industry, with that being said, forget that they're selling this, but they also need to be about it too and work in it.
Yeah, I say it all the time, man. There's a lot of people in this industry that they're missing the boat because they're not getting their name on any assets. So,
and a lot of investors talk about the ones that they missed.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I bought quite a bit, but I think more about it's like an athlete in the losses. They remember the losses much more intricately than the wins.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people that if we can do a little exercise and take a time machine back to like 1980s, we go to California. You're too young to remember this, but in California, if you look at the pricing in those days and you look at what happened over the next 2 or 3 decades, when you think about that and you ask yourself the question, how much real estate would I buy if I could take a time machine back to 1980 California?
Yeah.
And most people give the same answer. They say, I'd buy as much as I possibly could. I'd buy it all.
Yeah.
And so then that's, the bad news is we don't have a time machine. The good news is we live in Oregon, and I believe that Oregon is 1980s California. I think this is the next frontier. I know that, the last couple of years have been a little slow in terms of population growth and stuff, but I'm super bullish on Oregon and Salem and surrounding areas in general. And I think that, what a wonderful opportunity to actually live in a place where we should be investing for the future because there's just a huge amount of growth coming our way.
Well, what have we seen just in the recent past for those people that haven't been in the real estate game, that are still renting, that or that have owned their home for 20 or 30 years? Yeah, they've seen it too, but it really is shown in the first-time home buyer that bought their home in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and saw $100,000 of equity.
Yeah.
Now, I would argue that COVID, there was a fluff, 50,000 there on a lot of homes.
Sure.
Still, with that being said, the appreciation was at a scale that we haven't seen in a long time in that quick and speed of time lapse.
Yeah, we almost had a little period of hyperinflation.
Yes.
And a lot of that has to do with money creation and how much they pushed out on the streets for stimulus and that sort of thing. When you give everybody more money all at once, we all start fighting over the same goods and services. And now, inflation, unfortunately, is in everybody's vernacular, but it's a real thing. And that's one of the reasons why you want to hold hard assets, is because over time, our currency is going to be devalued, even if it's not at that pace. And you think about this as a really interesting mental exercise as we think of buildings going up in value, but the reality is most of the time it's your dollar is going down in value, and it takes more of those dollars to buy the building. So when you look at it in reverse like that, and you start to understand the concepts behind why you want to have hard assets, it's fine if you want stocks and bonds and crypto and all those things are fine. I just happen to be a real estate guy because of all the economic benefits of owning real estate. I just think that
you've incurred too through it. What it's allowed you to do.
It has completely changed my life and most of the lives of the people that I know that are in the real estate world.
Wow. That's good. I want to break that down. And what is so you're one of the you love to work hard, and you always say play hard. And a lot of people mistake that for like play hard and in your nature play hard, like drink and get wild and stuff. No, you mean just get out and adventure and go
live life.
Yeah. And that's beautiful for you. But what gives you on a day-to-day basis that poise to just nothing is too big for you? There's no thing that you can't figure out. What change? How did you start to work in that?
Well, it's a mindset. It's a mental exercise. I think we all need to challenge ourselves to think bigger. And I have had mentors in my life that challenged me to think bigger. I've had people in my life that we challenge each other to think bigger. And it's pretty interesting what happens over time as you do that is the things that you thought were really scary that you went out and did, after you've done it, they're not scary anymore.
And they were some of the greatest things you ever did.
Best things you ever did. When I bought my first duplex, it was scary. It was a $100,000 building. Yeah. I borrowed the money from a friend to buy it. We rehabbed it, rented it up.
Yeah.
And it was scary.
Yeah.
And after I bought that, you know what? A duplex wasn't so scary anymore. I bought a triplex and a fourplex. And eventually, I could never imagine buying bigger buildings. And once you get to that point, your mind evolves and you start to, really all it is just adding zeros. Brokers come up with the same problem. It's like, well, they think, I couldn't sell $1 million house. It's like, well, you already sold a $400,000 house. It's just the same thing. It's just.
Yeah, it's simplifying it to the fact of why am I fearful about something if all the puzzle pieces come together, if I have all the information on the table, which in essence is why commercial real estate is easier, because it's common sense.
It is, and it's funny. Most people think it
equals 2.
Yeah, commercial real estate's math,
yes.
And so it takes a little bit of the emotion or a lot of the emotion out of it. But a lot of people think, well, I couldn't do a commercial real estate deal. It'd be too hard. It'd be too complex. And the reality is, once you understand the math, a commercial real estate deal is way easier than a residential deal. People think, they see a big $20-30 million sale close and think, oh my gosh, what kind of crazy stuff. But it's really quite a bit easier. The file, honestly, is probably like a quarter of the size of a residential deal.
And what it is for a mortgage or real estate person the essence of this is once I started understanding commercial real estate a little bit better, is understanding DSCR. And everyone's like, well, DSCR sounds complex. Debt service coverage ratio.
Yeah.
Does what the building make
pay for it? Pay for the mortgage.
The mortgage.
Yeah, with a little cushion in there.
Yes, with a little cushion. And do you have enough assets and credit to show, like literally assets that you have to afford this building?
Yeah, am I bankable?
For reserves and so on and so forth.
Yep.
And that's why there's creative lending, because the amount of assets, the amount of down payment, and you talk about only wanting the least amount of money down as possible, because that's the least amount of risk and leverage and that you bury into an asset.
Yeah, leverage is my favorite part of real estate. I think it's a dangerous part. You got to be careful, but it's also the sexiest part of real estate, really, because you can use other people's money to go put your name on hard assets. So when we talk about money as sort of an idea. Money is in some ways it's sort of fake, right? Like, I mean, they can print as much money as they want. I always say they can print the money faster than we can print the buildings, and that's one of the reasons I want buildings. Now, you need cash to live, and you need cash to run your buildings. You need cash. I mean, cash is something we all need, but ultimately, the idea, and when I first started in real estate, I wanted to stack up the cash. I said, okay, I'm going to be rich. I want to have a bunch of money. What I didn't realize then when I started was commercial real estate, income generating real estate, is the currency of the wealthy. So owning hard assets.
Interesting.
So people that own buildings, this is one of the things I learned as I started making my phone calls and talking to investors. I enjoyed getting into real estate because I could talk with a kind of clientele that was successful. They had built something, and I could find out from them, glean some wisdom.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found out while I was talking to them, I'd get on the phone and they'd say, we're sitting on too much cash. And in my mind, I would think, well, that's not a problem. I want to sit on too much cash.
But they just knew that it wasn't appreciated.
They knew they had more than what they needed to operate their lives and their businesses, and the rest of that money needed to be going to work for them.
They're anxious
and it
about
wasn't.
it. Yeah,
it was honestly, they were as worried about having too much cash as a lot of people are about not having enough cash.
Interesting.
And it blew my mind. I couldn't quite understand it or grasp what was going on at first.
Paradigm shift for you.
Then I realized these people aren't chasing cash. They're chasing assets. Your buildings just eventually go buy you more buildings. That's how it works.
That's the soundbite that you want right there.
Then you have the equity, and the equity starts to kick off some cash flow, and you can live on that. But in our markets, like in Oregon and on the West Coast, we're in equity markets, meaning you have to have a ton of equity before you really get cash flow out of your buildings. Right. You can go to the Midwest somewhere, and you can buy a house for $30,000, rent it out for $900. There's a lot better markets than the one we're in if you're interested in cash flow, which is what most people, when they get into real estate, that's what they want. They want the cash flow. So in Oregon, it's sort of bad news, good news. It's not a great place for cash flow. However, on the flip side, if you can get your name on some buildings, our market appreciates at a much faster pace than the rest of the country. So even though when you look at money creation, it's on a national basis, every market inflates at a different pace, and a lot of it's just supply and demand. So, you look at those buildings, you buy that house in the Midwest for $30,000, and in 10 years, it's probably worth $35,000. It's not going to go up a whole lot. You buy a house here for $300,000, and in 10 years, it's going to be $600,000.
And the cool thing is with people that are interested in real estate investments is it's so diverse what you can do with a property. I mean, there's a million different types of buildings. There is different types of houses and ways that you can have investment housing. There's Airbnbs, there's short-term, long-term, there's all of it, right? And it could be your personal, and then you can, when you travel or turn apart ADUs, I mean, you just go so deep into that.
Yeah, you can house hack, you can ADU, you can add units to your, you can do midterm rentals to people who are traveling nurses is a great one. You can do long-term rental. I mean, there's a lot, and that's just in the residential space. Then you talk about like the building we're sitting in. This could be, cold storage, maybe. It's cold enough to be. No, there's a lot of cool things that you could do in a building like this, but you have retail, you've got office, industrial. I think that's one of the things that I see a lot is that when you say the word real estate to most people, they just think of a house.
Yes.
They don't realize that the parking lot down the street is real estate, or that the commercial buildings downtown, or it's all real estate. The mobile home park is real estate. Everywhere you go is
and people are making money off of it.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Everywhere you look, people are making money. Everywhere. The money is everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, so Gabe, tell me. Let's go through a little bit of a recap of your last year. What are some projects that stand out to you, whether it's personal or the company or just in town that you love?
Oh my God, we don't have enough time for this.
I know.
One big development. I'm growing the management company. We bought the JPM management company out of Portland in February of last year. That was announced in the SBJ. It grew our company by 63 employees. We now manage between Vancouver and Roseburg. So whereas SMI was really known in the Salem, Albany areas for many decades now, now we're spreading our wings. We're in Portland. We're in the surrounding areas of Portland. And then all the way down into Roseburg. So that was a huge development. We also have kicked off our syndication side, had a really great year. We brought in several assets in through the SMI Fund Management Company. We've set up a really interesting syndication that is unlike just about anything I've ever seen, where we utilize something called the 721 exchange. A lot of people have heard of a 1031 exchange.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of 721?
No, please give it to me.
So 721 allows people to contribute their equity of their building into our fund for shares of equity, so without having a taxable event. So rather than having to sell us property, they can contribute their buildings right into our fund. And so we have several of our investors that are actually taking their buildings, and rather than having to deal with the day-to-day management of the project, worry about the debt on the project, have the tort liability of having, lawsuits and all the things that come along with owning real estate, they can put it into the fund, and they can still benefit from the four economic benefits of real estate. They can have cash flow, they can have appreciation, they can have depreciation, and they can have principal buy down. So they actually carry their depreciation schedule into the fund. So they and in event that they die, actually their estate can take over their shares also. So what this is an exit strategy for an investor who says, I want all the good things out of my real estate, but I don't really want to put up with the things I don't like. I don't want to run it day to day, or I don't want to, I just don't want to deal with it, or I don't want the headache, or I don't want the debt.
It's still betting on real estate. It's a much less risky and singular real estate investment.
Well, you get to become a limited partner and become a passive investor. They claim that passive investing is sort of a tax term. It's not really a real thing. A lot of people think when they get into real estate and they buy assets, they're not going to have to do anything, and that's not really true.
That's what syndication is. It's a bunch of people going in and betting on.
We pool our resources so that we can go buy bigger deals together, and then if you find a good sponsor, which I hope we will be, and I believe we will be, we have just a world-class team. We can take that and we can go work your equity harder than you could work yourself. So let's say you've got a fourplex, you've owned it for a number of years, you're not really sure what to do with it. We can pull that right into the fund. We did this just in the last few months. We had some smaller properties like that come into the fund. We clean them up, get them rented, sell them, immediately 1031 straight into a larger asset. We'll turn that fourplex into 20 units in a very short amount of time, and do something that you may not want to do yourself, or you may not even qualify to do yourself.
Exactly. So listen to this, guys. This is a huge piece that he just said. And I know a lot of it isn't the most elementary sounding, but listen to this. If you have copious equity in multiple properties, copious equity, what he's saying is that they will help you. Your greatest investment, these properties that you own, they're going to help you go and get more. So with that being said, what a 1031 is basically you don't pay taxes on it. Even if it was an investment, you sell that property, you move that into, like you said, a parking lot, a commercial building, another real estate asset that's greater normally. So you can also buy something similar, but you have that amount of cash that you get from that sale. You move that into another asset or a down payment for another asset.
Yeah, you're moving your basis so you don't have to pay taxes because the money didn't go in your pocket.
So he's giving you a script on how to exercise your equity in a greater way and multiply it. And
yeah. I mean, it's really just handing over and letting us shepherd your equity and moving it faster and bigger than you would be able to do, and taking out all the liability along the way. I mean, it's super amazing. I think you'll see we've only just been around for about a year and a half, but I think we have about 25 million in assets today.
Well, you've been investing You've been in SMI.
Well, and that's the thing is our partners. I own a portfolio of about 1,000 doors. We own quite a few commercial buildings, and then my partners own a lot of real estate. And we've got our securities attorney is on staff as our general counsel and COO. Our real estate specific CPA is the CFO of our fund. I mean, these are this is next level stuff.
Smart guys are going to do it right legally.
Yeah,
and that I mean. listen, you are so involved in the community and everything that you do. This isn't a get rich quick scheme.
No.
By any means. And in fact, that's the opposite of what real estate is.
Yeah,
real estate is understanding that patience.
It's
honestly.
a get rich slow scheme.
Yeah.
But we can do it a little faster than you might be able to do it on your own.
And leverage, and how can we move things, to open up new doors and new opportunities.
And it's, we have some people that are just at the end of their investment cycle that are coming in. We have other people, myself and my partners have put our own properties in there. Jordan Sparks has, we're partners on a deal.
One of my favorites to follow. I love Jordan.
Yeah, he's put some property into the fund. So anyway, so I think it's a super exciting development of one of the things SMI is doing that not a lot of people maybe know about yet.
Sure.
That's coming up, and I think it's going to be really, not only are we helping people on the front end, to find deals, win deals, finance deals, operate and manage their deals, but then also when they come to the point in their investment cycle where they're ready to sort of pass the baton, we've got a great option for them to come in and let their asset continue to grow for them without them having to put a bunch of sweat equity into it.
And guys, another thing to remind you all, Gabe is the head sponsor, and his team run the Real Estate Investors group in Salem.
Trevor Howard and Alex Ferry of State Farm. They started the SRE meetup. It's the first Wednesday every month at the Sassy Onion here on State Street.
Yeah.
Sign-ins at 5:30 p.m. We had this month, I think we had 120-ish people come. It's just a really fun night. It's collaborative. We have guest speakers. Sometimes we have a mastermind. We walk through deals together. We teach underwriting. If you're interested at all in getting into real estate, or you've just got started, it's a great environment for you to be in. Everybody's really helping them, each other.
And it's a way to understand the complexities of deals that you see every day, and to break it down. And they might speak over your head a couple of times. You just tell them to slow down and reiterate what they're saying and simplify in elementary terms. Give me what you're saying. How can I consume this in a manner that I'm going to be able to apply?
Yeah, and if you're scared to come out to a meetup, listen to Deal Junkies. It's on everywhere you can listen to podcasts, and we get on every week. We do 2 episodes per week, and we break down a lot of the same stuff that we do at the SRE. But it's one of the things I love about real estate is it's a super friendly and collaborative group of people. I think it's because, we all come from an abundance mindset. We're not out it's not really the dog eat dog world that you find in a lot of other industries. It's like there's a lot of people out there that are really willing to help you.
Especially the commercial world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I think in all aspects of the maybe just investment,
Yes,
so like a 1 to 4 unit we'd still call residential and lending, but we call that commercial because it's producing income. So from an investment standpoint, I think we come from the mindset that there are plenty of deals for all of us.
Yeah.
And we can all build generational wealth and have time freedom from real estate.
And nothing makes you more proud than seeing people that you've been, or not, like buy buildings and buy apartment complexes and fourplexes and duplexes. I hope that my brothers and cousins and friends that hear me are like, Aaron, I just bought this new thing. You know what? Even if you use me or not for lending, that's exciting. Yeah. That's an investment that is going to make an impact and difference in your life.
100%.
Because it's helped change my family's complete direction too. So I know how powerful real estate is. So I love getting into the high technicalities of it with you, because I can't even comprehend half the stuff that you say, but I try to. But talk about something that you got going on right now, Gabe. A development or something. All right. That maybe not. It doesn't have to necessarily be public, but that you're excited about.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. Sometimes being excited and being scared are kind of the same thing. I've got, we just finished a 66 unit project. So I've sort of delved into the development world, which is a scary world. Development's a very risky thing.
Oh yeah.
But we're in lease up right now up in Astoria. We're going to build another 66 units in Seaside. So we're out putting that together now. Later this month, where the SMI Fund is launching a 60 unit in Lebanon that we built along with Skyline Builders. We did a collaboration with them and built a beautiful 60-unit project down in Lebanon.
Wow.
So there are a few out there, shout out to Chris Blackburn, who owns this building. He's building more units than anybody. He's doing a great job helping us solve the housing crisis.
Yeah.
Salem might have got a little bit overbuilt in the last couple of years, but that problem is sorting itself out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're out there. We're excited to get some units out of the ground and to build. And it's a really, it's a fun way to help investors make a nice return, have some, brand new product. And when you build a new product, you're getting your equity pop right out of the gate when you build it, because it's worth more than what you built it for. Hopefully that's the plan. Yeah. It takes a lot of time and effort and coordination and a lot of people and a lot of money to get that project. Yeah. It's really, really hard to do. Which is probably one of the reasons why
engineers,
architects, engineers, the city, and meetings and pre-apps. Most projects from start to finish, by the time they're stabilized, it's 3-4 years from the date of initial inception. Wow. So that's one of the things that we're seeing right now is because the financing dried up over the last couple of years with interest rates and uncertainty, all of that construction money sort of dried up, and a lot of projects that were going to come out didn't get started. And so there's sort of a shadow, I would say, in the pipeline of development coming that will take another 3 or 4 years to sort itself out, which is why I say, some of our markets have been overbuilt a little bit. I think Salem and Lebanon actually might be two great examples of, different towns that got built up and had more units than we could absorb right away. It wasn't that we have too many units long term. It's just we got them all at once. And that was kind of from the COVID effect, where we had supply chain issues and stuff. You remember, 80 some boats sitting off of the coast of LA, and we can't, a lot of the stuff that are on those boats are what we need to build apartments. And so units that should have come out in 2021, 22 didn't come. And then finally we got a lot of that pipeline released in 23 and 24, and we're just working through that now.
Right, and that also affected lumber prices.
Everything.
Everything. It influenced people still built and found ways to build cheap and whatnot, but it also hurt a lot of the smaller, the smaller business.
There are a million different things that you can't even think of that can go wrong when you're building a project.
And I think that's something that I talk about a lot. Is what a lot of people don't understand in the real estate world is there's this massive web. There is so many pieces that are involved in not only a real estate transaction, but what goes into building a home, a building, anything. You have in all of the city, and it just goes on and on and on.
Takes the whole village,
architect,
man.
Everything. So whenever someone says I want to get into real estate, I'm like, where do you want to get into?
Yeah.
What area are you interested in?
So many different possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's also insurance, there's electricians, there's blue collar, there's white collar, there's the investor. I mean, it goes and goes and goes. And then what type of investor you want to be? What are you interested in? And I think that's the biggest thing in this life that people need to take that's very similar to real estate is, what are you most interested in? Are you most interested in getting into multifamily? Okay, cool. Here's where to start looking. Mm-hmm. Are you interested in buying buildings? Okay, well, start to talk to people and learn from people that have bought buildings and that own buildings and that know how to do that and know how you can get there and help you get there quicker, because people just get this anxiety cloud over them that says, I can't buy a building. But on the last podcast, you said, why not? How can I? I mean, I can call some people.
You can buy a building.
Yeah, I could buy a building. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if your credit is terrible and all these. You can start to work towards, in a year, couple years, you can buy a building.
Yeah, there's a way.
Yeah, there is always a way.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're talking about finding the thing that kind of sings to you the most. And I think that, one thing that people have in common that get into real estate is they want more money. That's the reason they heard we have money.
The get rich quick scheme.
They're not wrong, but not everybody that gets into real estate makes money. So there are different strategies for the way you invest, and there are different strategies for what you do in a day job. And so we talk a lot about now money and tomorrow money, meaning, you got to have income. And so maybe what you do is it may not even be real estate related. You might be somebody who can make a lot more money as an attorney or an engineer or doing something else.
Salesman
and then
or
you've
whatever,
got an
yeah.
investment. I have brokers that'll broker in one space and invest in a completely different space. They're not even brokering
Because
in the
it's
space.
what they like and what they're interested in, right?
Yeah. I mean, you may sell residential, or you may be a wholesaler, you may be a flipper, but then you're out buying plexes or apartments or commercial buildings or
And
something.
sometimes investors do what they know is right and a good investment against what they might like. Like they might like to have that cool Airbnb in Bandon Dunes.
Only if they're a good
Right?
investor. Yeah. There's something called ego investing that we try to avoid, because that's one of the first things that you try to think of. Is like, oh, I'm going to buy a building.
I know too
And
many
then you
guys
think,
who have suffered from having ego investing.
think of the coolest building I can buy. I want to own that one. It's funny, my mentors and my clients and the people that I know that have been super successful at real estate, they would never go drive you to their properties and say, check this out, look at what I own. They're not necessarily slumlords, but they're not buying because it's something that's exciting to go look at.
So sexy.
They're buying it on math. They're buying it because the numbers make sense. It's a place people want to live. They can make a good return. It's safe enough.
Yeah, one of my good buddies that's a math teacher but a great athlete always would say, especially when we're playing poker or whatever, he said, it's not magic, it's math.
It's math.
It's math.
Math doesn't lie.
Yeah. No,
it's hard to keep your ego out of it, because buildings are fun and they're exciting. You look at something, and we'll even do that sometimes. We'll go like, oh, look at that one. It'd be cool to own that one.
And if you have, I think after you've made the right, there's a time and place, right? Or if you have the right investor and you have an investor that has a dream and vision, you can make money off dream and vision and something exciting.
There are those people. And again, somebody like a Chris Blackburn, he's got vision. He loves to take a project that everybody else looks at, like the building we're sitting right here now, and I go, how in the heck do you find a way to make this work? And he knows somewhere in the back of his brain how he's going to make this thing work.
Yeah.
And that's great. We need people like that. That have that vision, that are willing to take that risk and willing to come in and do the hard work, because it's a lot harder to take an old building like this and turn it into something cool and usable than it is to just bring a project out of the ground, I think.
Yeah, that's the conversation that we talked about. Gabe is thinking on the math side, I would tear this down and build up something, right?
That's probably what the spreadsheet would tell you to do. I don't know if you can do that.
Exactly. But because it's a historic building, okay, now how can we work within the body that we have?
Well, and then there's just all the red tape you got to go through, and working through the historic district and the city and doing all the things to reinforce the building and to bring it up to code and do all the stuff that you want to do.
And I think it's probably, talking on Chris has done a lot downtown. So he knows downtown.
Yeah.
He's got backing from the city. He's worked downtown. So it also is, it might, as beautiful and cool as it is, it's something that he knows. So he's probably
he's
more
got the
willing to take
infrastructure and the
risks.
connections, and he's done it before. So it's not as much risk to him, because he knows the numbers on it.
If someone were just to wake up and buy this, you got another thing coming, brother.
Well, and
understanding it.
And I always give the kind of the warning that if you're somebody that's watching TV shows about real estate, be careful, because most of the stuff you see on there is not real. It's just a TV show. Most of the things on TV aren't real, believe it or not.
Perception is reality.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way flipping houses, and to have that sort of that visionary mindset, and to be able to look at something and know that you could make it better, can sometimes be a downfall if you don't understand the math behind it, because in your mind it seems super simple and easy because you can visualize it and you're excited to bring, an old dumpy building into turning it into something very, very cool for the community. And at the end of the day, a lot of those projects just don't pencil in the end because of all the pitfalls you run into. It's really hard to budget out for a project like that. And so I would warn you, if you're watching, even if you're watching brokers on TV or you're watching anybody that's doing this stuff, man, it is probably nothing quite like what they're trying to tell you. It's like, it's people think, oh, wow, Gabe sells these big, apartment buildings and manages all these buildings. And, I spend a lot of time in apartment units. It doesn't matter if it's a brand new apartment or it's an old apartment, man. Like, it's not the glamorous job that it might sound like it is. there's big dollars involved, but there's a reason why, a luxury.
And you look pretty at the end of the day on the Facebook post.
You take
your digital designer.
You make it look pretty. Yeah,
as you should, because you spent 6 months, or a couple months or a year making that.
But
deal
oftentimes
happen.
you're walking
It should look
through
sexy.
rats and cockroaches and bed bugs and
and TI and
like, some family situations that aren't so fun to witness. You're in people's homes, and it's not necessarily what you might have envisioned. And so that would be my warning is depending on what kind of real estate you want to get into. I can tell you my wife would not be somebody who'd want to do the job that I do. She wouldn't want to go into the buildings that I go into and do the things that I do.
Yeah. Okay, and I got to do one more shout out to SMI Real Estate. Thank you for being. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Should I do Collier too? Or no? Okay. Another shout out to SMI Real Estate. Thank you guys for all that you do for the Salem Business Journal. We appreciate it. It's cool to actually give the promotional to the owner of SMI. Gabe Johansen, thank you for all that you do and all the stuff that you do in this community. It really makes an impact and goes a lot further than I would imagine you even think. And I think that's why you do it.
Thank you.
Man.
Well, I'm honored to do it. And likewise, you're doing a lot for the community yourself.
Thank you. And Synergy One, thank you guys for the gear and just kind of supporting me in this endeavor of trying to help create for the Salem Business Journal. And Collier Law, thank you guys for all that you do. I probably need to talk with you guys on some real estate law stuff at some point. So awesome.
We'll have Ryan on soon.
Yeah, Ryan.
It'd be a fun
I like
guest.
Ryan. Yeah. Okay, let's get back into it. Okay. Let's talk future. Are there future projects that interest you? Whether it be in Salem or the surrounding area or Oregon that kind of are waking you up and getting you excited for?
I think it's fun to see actually kind of what's going on in downtown.
Yeah.
What Clutch has going with the Forge.
Yeah.
It's fun to see. I know that it's not fun to see the big box stores leave like Macy's and Penny's and stuff.
Nordstrom,
but
yeah.
I think Nordstrom, but I think that, downtown is going through a transition period.
A cleanse almost?
Yeah, I think that it's turning into a place for local Salemites to go and have a more experiential, type visit where they might have some local shops, some restaurants and bars, housing, a better blend of kind of, this is not the central shopping district anymore. That's out on Lancaster. Willamette Town Center has done a great job with attracting, all the stuff that we really need out there, I think, for Salem. So it's just for our market. I just don't know that downtown was ever going to survive as its old self. And so it's cool to see that there are local investors. I actually heard somebody say from out of state that they felt like downtown Salem was earmarked as one of the highest growth potential markets, downtown markets in the United States. So I think when you look at buildings like we have down here for the cost per foot you can get them for, Salem still has a little way to go. But I think the future is super bright, and we've got some great local investors that are out, taking down these buildings and have good vision for what downtown Salem could be. Yeah,
and I think that's like Chris and you and other people, they ask themselves, well, how do we distinguish Salem? How do we put Salem more on the map? And I think it's a culmination of things. I think it's the youth, the people, the guys my age getting more excited and intentional about how are we going to benefit, and not just word vomiting, like actually doing, getting out and helping. And like, I don't want to sit at a council meeting and talk about how we're going to help homeless. How can we actually do it? And who is doing it right now? And how can we pour into them?
Help them.
And be a village, put our arms around them. And what are you doing that's helping? Like that we got, sadly, 100 people camping out under the bridge over there right now.
That
Again.
one just stole your phone before this episode.
And which
not cool.
Exactly. So someone walking downtown, and downtown's been so much better recently until I guess today. Someone grabbed my phone while I was flying the drone, but I'm not angry at them. I'm actually more disappointed in what are we doing to help these homeless people. Seriously. And my dad and I were talking about this conversation. Shouts out my dad. This is actually old jacket that he would wear growing up. But a lot of it is give them a space to clean themselves up. Addiction, right? That we've talked about in the past. Just get them clean. Get them in their right mind and give them an opportunity to work in this community.
Yeah, as a complex topic to unpack, and I don't know that we're going to solve the world's problems today, but I'll say that I listened to a presentation the other day, and Portland last year spent over $900 million on their homeless initiative. They went and did their census and found that their homeless population grew. So almost $1 billion in one market with about, 800,000 people, 1 million people. That's a lot of money to spend on a population that is not
billion? Oh my!
It's not working. So I can tell you right now, the answer's not money.
It's not money,
or at least it's not where they're spending that money. I don't know exactly where that money is going.
And that's the essence of life, man. It's like, okay, you can teach a man to fish. No, you can give a man a fish and he eats for night. You can teach a man to fish and he eats for life, right? It's the same exact concept of serving. How do we get our hands and serve this community? How do we serve these homeless people?
Well, part of the answer is we have to inspire them to want to help themselves.
Yes.
And when you're on drugs, and I can speak to this from experience because I'm a recovering drug addict myself. I very much could have been one of those people down there. So I have a lot of grace for them. Drug addiction is a gnarly thing, and there's a lot of people out there. We could go build $1 billion institute for, recovery. We could hire the best doctors in the world to come here and try to help us. And I don't believe that we would help one person get sober through either one of those actions.
Agreed.
This comes down to the individual, and these folks have to come to a point in their life where they're ready for the help. They have to ask for help. They have to hit a bottom.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for a lot of our, homeless friends out here, their bottom is death. Like they're going to die out there in the park of a fentanyl overdose or of exposure because it's going to be, 30 degrees tonight or whatever. So that is sad.
Yeah.
How do we get them to want to help us help them? I think that's where the answer lies. And I think there's a few people in our community that are really trying hard. And it comes down to more than just taking care of them and giving them, there's a phrase in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that talks about we all look for an easier, softer way. Mm-hmm. And when you think about what we do, we feel like out of the goodness of our heart, we should feed them. We should set up a food line. We should set up a soup line. We should provide sleeping bags and tents and dry socks.
It's a way to serve, yeah.
From a humanitarian perspective, that makes us feel really good about ourselves because we're doing something good. We're helping these people that need help.
Sure.
The problem with that is are we making them comfortable enough to not want to make any changes in their own life?
Them, yeah.
And so my personal take on this, being a recovering drug addict myself, is the best thing you can do for somebody who's struggling with alcoholism or drug addiction is let them hit bottom. Let them get to the lowest low they can possibly get without dying. And hopefully they get to the point where they say, okay, I'm ready to do anything. I'm willing to ask for help.
Oh, man, and that is, and here's the thing, Gabe, you're also a believer in God, and I think God is good, man. We're in this beautiful building. We're having this conversation. We get this, even though we're freezing our...
we haven't died of hypothermia yet, so...
we are blessed.
We are blessed.
And we're blessed to make it, because I have family members that have struggled with alcohol. I would say in seasons I was an alcoholic myself. So, and there's been times where I've ate too much, I've drank too much, I've done drugs. So I'll be transparent with that too. And I think people can, have transparency about things that they've done. I have no shame in that. And I luckily will get to see my Creator someday and smile in the face and know that I was who I was, and I can have pride in that, but it's creating a hope in these people, and it's showing them through your actions that you love them and that they do matter too. And you're right, enabling someone in their shame and disgust and deceit and all of these things that they're going through, and people knowing that even though you've lied to everyone in your life to steal and cheat and do all the things, you're still loved and you still matter.
Yeah, and I think we also need to be careful not to clump all of them together as being the same.
Yes.
Because they're out there for different reasons,
Yes.
and some of it is drugs, some of it's alcohol, some of it's
Human
just
trafficking, some of it's
mental illness, which I think the drug addiction and alcoholism is a form of mental illness. There's some people that are down on their luck. There's a lot of different things that are going on. So it's probably not as easy of an answer, which is why the problem hasn't been solved. You have to almost take this down one by one and decide what each individual needs. And I think that we used to have a lot of mechanisms in place, maybe throughout the country, or maybe just talking specifically about Salem, where we had more help for people with mental illness, and we had facilities and we had places for them to go. And rather than expanding those to the point where we need that 10x of what it used to be, now we don't have much of it at all. So I think we got to get back to that place if we're going to designate anything.
I think Reed's heard it too, because where did that $900 million go?
Well,
I hope that it went to the right place.
Now with this new administration, a lot of lids are being blown off about money being siphoned to places where maybe they shouldn't have been. So you hear about a number like that and you wonder how much of it actually got used for the cause that we were told that it was going to. Either way, I don't think that money is going to solve the problem. That's personally, for me, I think a lot of people, if it's on your heart and you're thinking about these folks all the time, I think that we should all sit and come up with some ideas for how we can help. But I really think you've got to take some folks off the street that understand what it's like, how they got there, and how maybe they succeeded to get off the street, and bring some of those folks in to tell us how we can help them.
Yeah,
because
we can't reinvent the wheel.
We can't relate. We're not homeless. We don't understand what it is to sleep outside every night. We don't understand what it is to eat out of a garbage can outside. We don't live we really don't live in the same world. Yeah. We're just down the street. We really don't live in the same world. And so I think that rather than us thinking that we can come up with all the answers, I think we need to ask them to help us answer the question.
Yeah, and there's a story, last thing on this subject. There's a story that I've experienced not too long ago. So when it got slow in real estate, I would bartend on the weekends because I like to serve, I like to hustle. I feel like I can do whatever, and I need to keep myself busy, and I wasn't busy enough in real estate. So I was making ends meet on the weekends so that I could work my day job, during the week. And there's this lady that came in and said, "We need to feed the homeless outside." And I said, "Absolutely." She said, "I'll pay for it." I said, "No, I got it." So we bring them out food, and she brings them out food. And she yells at them, "Get a grip."
Like that's going to help.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Get a grip. And as a coach and being mentored and a mentee and all the different things, there is a time and place for that, but that is not the time and place for it. And that is not love. You're giving them food to serve your own self. And that's a very selfish act.
Yeah, I guess that's a really interesting word to use, is love, because love, is giving them food love, right? You've heard of tough love. You've heard, there are different ways to love people. Loving is an action.
Yes.
It's not a feeling. And so when you really, truly think about that person, you're right. Giving them your leftovers after you walked out of the fancy restaurant makes you feel good about yourself. But are you really loving them? Is that loving them? I don't know. Maybe sitting down and having a conversation with them would be more loving. I don't know.
Yes. Are you warm enough? Just simple, whatever. But anyways, it just made it, and just people being selfish about their love.
Why do you think why do you think this is the number one topic? Why do you think almost every conversation I have ends up at this? What do you think it is about homelessness that makes everybody want to talk about it and think about it?
Because they all think that they can fix it.
But why do they even want to fix it? Why do they feel like it's a problem to begin with?
probably their perception of the people that they see in their town. They have pride in their town and city.
So they think it's ugly.
Yeah.
It looks ugly.
Looks ugly, yeah.
So
It smells bad.
when the river's not as high as it is right now, they're all down in Wallace Marine Park.
don't see 'em.
And we've had the same 1,000+ people down there for
Interesting.
decades.
And it's in their place.
So
It's
when they're in the
closer to
park
them.
and they're not right here in downtown, you don't hear too many people talk about it.
True.
When the river gets a little bit high and they got to come into downtown,
This is good. See, this is a good
everybody
point.
wants to fix the problem again. So the question is, do you really want to help these people and fix the problem, or you just want our city to not be ugly and littered with people that you don't think look like you?
There you go. There's a reality check, people. If we didn't see any of these people, will we care as much?
Out of sight, out of mind. I think that's really the question you got to answer is, do we just want it to be out of our sight, or do we really want to help these people? And I think there's two different answers there. I think there's a way to move them somewhere to where, we don't have to see them.
Yeah.
And that's, quite honestly, that's how a lot of them end up here, is because other areas have decided they didn't want to see them. They shipped them here. Go walk around and talk to some of these people. I've been a downtown guy for 15 years. You see some of the same people. You see a new one, you go, "Hey man, how you doing? How long you been around here?" And they'll go like, "Oh, I just got here 2 weeks ago. They dropped me off on a bus from Colorado." It's like, they ship them here.
Yeah, literally.
This is no secret. You can just walk down the street and ask them. There are people, they're being shipped into Portland. They're being shipped into Astoria. Everywhere I go, I hear about buses in the middle of the night, 3 a.m, dropping people off. People are giving them one-way bus ticket, $500, get out of town, because those towns just don't want to see them. Okay, so we receive them, and now we have to decide, are we going to be the ones to actually help them, or are we going to try to hide them somewhere?
That's good, man. I could go deep on that. Anyways, man.
Stuff to chew on.
That is. No, and I think Salem needs to hear people that care, and you care about it.
I do care.
And how can we care more, And please, for people that are listening and whatnot, help us find the people that are doing stuff, and let me help you shed light on them, and help, God has given me a couple gifts, and that's to connect people, and that's to highlight and promote people. And I care deeply about that. So let's get connected to those people and uplift them, and figure out how we can all help, and how we can at least all be aware and be a little bit more cognizant about these people that need help.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a good mission.
Yeah, that is. No, it's good, man. It's all about, it's my life's purpose is to serve. So
it's all of our life's purposes.
That's the greatest.
We just don't realize
in my
it.
Life.
You figured it out a little younger than most people figured it out.
That's my life's purpose, man. I don't care what I'm doing, where I'm going, who I'm with. I want to serve people.
Good.
Yeah.
That's admirable.
Yeah. But anyways, let's. You think we should wrap this up? Probably call it a day. I think that was really good, man. Is there anything else that you want to share before we get off?
No, I just, I really love what the SBJ is doing in Salem. They're doing a great job promoting the local businesses, and Jonathan and his team are just dear to my heart, and I know that he's a big just a big force in our community. So big shout out to the SBJ for doing this, and I think what you guys are doing is really special, and I look forward to joining you again.
Yeah, we'll have more, man, and we'll get your team out here, and we'll do some cool stuff.
All right.
We appreciate SMI a ton, and seriously, I feel like I see your guys' name signs everywhere, at every event, everywhere. You guys, I'm honestly just, it inspires me, man, just to see how far the reach can go, and to hear about what you guys are doing in other cities and whatnot. So shouts out to SMI and actually being involved in all the places that I go. It's incredible, and thank you. Because I know that's not cheap. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Kaiser Chamber, we got to give them a shout out. They gave SMI Merchant of the Year for 2024.
Wow.
So we're honored to receive that, and I hand that to our team, because we've got almost 200 people out there that are doing the hard work every day, and we love what we do. We love our communities that we serve, and it's we're just having a great time. So
awesome.
We're blessed to be able to do it, just like you're blessed to be able to do what you're doing.
Thank you, Gabe, and it's a blessing to call you a friend, man. So
you as well.
Keep doing what you're doing, man, and we'll keep watching, and we'll have you on again.
All right. Thanks a lot, Aaron.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
Cheers.